President Biden's new multi-trillion-dollar spending bill comes with huge unanswered questions. Joining me now is Brandon Arnold, the National Taxpayers Union Executive Vice President. Brandon, so I just talked about some of the money in the framework that it says will come because of the tax changes. Do you believe that these tax numbers add up?
No, absolutely not. This is fantasy land math. And if you look at some of the proposals like the IRS funding, they say they'll put $80 billion into the IRS and get $400 billion out of taxpayers if they do that. That's a net of $320 billion. The CBO looked at this and they said you'll get $120 billion. That's a $200 billion difference between what the official people are saying and what the Biden administration are trying to claim. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and you know, new findings say that the tax hikes and Biden's spending could raise $500 billion less, as you alluded to. Let's say the revenue does not come in. Where are Democrats going to look for to pay for those programs?
Yeah, that's going to be the tricky part, because where they always look is borrowing money. That's the first place that they look, because that's the easiest thing to do. It's the path of least resistance. And members of Congress tend to be a little bit lazy. So they'll borrow money. The problem is we have a $28 trillion debt. Our deficit situation is absolutely out of control. We're starting to look at some of those basket case countries like Greece and Italy that can't manage their finances. And that eventually is going to have serious implications for our economy when it pushes up interest rates, when it makes inflation worse, and when it exacerbates a lot of the underlying problems that exist in our economy.
Right, and one of those in there, I want to say that he's looking at $350 billion coming from an overhaul of the tax code for companies shipping jobs and profits overseas. That's a little ambiguous. Well, first of all, how do they won't be able to quantify that. So how can they guarantee that money, that amount of money, is going to be coming in?
Well, that's a tricky proposition as well. And one of the things that they did in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, of course, is create incentives for companies to keep intellectual property and keep other types of transactions on American soil. So you keep that intellectual property here and you use it to make money elsewhere across the globe. And now they're trying to penalize that. They're trying to remove some of those deductions because they say they're handouts for corporations. Of course, when you start penalizing corporations, they tend to be very mobile. They take their jobs, they take their economic activity overseas. We saw that before 2017. We fixed that with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and now they're trying to break it again.
Yeah, so you said the bill is full of waste and unnecessary spending items. How so? What do you see?
Well, there's a bunch of garbage in there, if I'm being absolutely frank. There's $1 billion for Pacific salmon conservation. $1 billion. The original House bill only had $400 million, and they upped that for some reason. There's almost $5 million in there for desert fish. I don't know what desert fish are. I didn't really know there were fish in the desert. There's another $5 million in there for freshwater mussels. So that may not seem like a lot of money, but it seems like too much money if you ask me. And that's not even counting some of the handouts that they're giving to electric vehicle purchasers, for instance, who tend to be very wealthy. You can earn up to $800,000 a year under this bill and still get a tax credit, a handout, to the tune of $12,000. Wow. $12,000 for buying a $70,000 SUV.
Right. Now, I want to show you something quickly. Listen, here's Senator Mitch McConnell about the IRS snooping that's in this. Listen to this.
I tell you, it may be alive with the Democrats, but it's not alive in the country. We have gotten massive communications from our constituents all across America. They don't want the IRS snooping into their bank accounts for routine transactions. A huge mistake among many that look like they could end up in a final bill if they ever get to a final bill.
Yeah, your thoughts in the last 30 seconds, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the snooping proposal is of huge concern. And while it's not included in the latest proposal, it is still very, very much in play. I'm glad to hear that people are weighing in and lighting up the switchboard on Capitol Hill, telling their members to keep that out because it's absolutely important. Keep that provision out of the bill. We don't want a supersized IRS in terms of the number of agents or in terms of their vast powers. So let's keep that provision out of this bill. It's absolutely disastrous.
Yeah, Brandon Arnold, thank you for your insight on this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.